Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Meet the Light. Today, I have Amber Webb with me. She is a NLP master practitioner and transformational healing coach. She's dedicating to helping others heal from deep-seated emotional wounds and limiting beliefs. So, hello, Amber. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And I'm
Yeah,
looking
I'm
forward to
super
this.
excited for our discussion. So I see here that you are working as a master practitioner and a transformational healing coach. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey and what got you into the work that you're doing now?
I love that story. I love talking about what brought me here and how I started my journey. And I started to be coach 6 years ago. I started my coaching business 6 years ago. And I will always know how old my coaching business is because my son, my middle child, my NICU child is 6 years old. So it's pretty easy to know. He's one of my whys, and my oldest who's now 12 is also part of my why. Um, so let's go back a little bit. So when my oldest was like 3 years old, I went through this like depression phase of like I didn't know what to do. It was just a really low phase. Like I couldn't even get out of bed to play with him. I literally laid in bed and I just didn't seem to have the energy to do anything. And I kept saying to him, "Mommy doesn't feel good. Mommy doesn't feel good." And I was like, "You know what? I don't want that to be like his life where he's like taking care of me." I'm like, "Okay. So I'm gonna set a plan, I'm gonna set a goal, and I wrote on my fridge with dry erase, go back to school, the things I needed to do to go back to school. So I set a plan in action, what I needed, and I'm gonna go back to school to find the thing that fits. That checks all the boxes that I couldn't find before, something that just gives me meaning purpose, which I hadn't found prior to that. At the same time, I'm like, okay, there's things I'm really good as a parent, and there's things that I want to change and make better that I'm worried about. So that was part of my list as well. So I went back to school before he started school. That was my goal. Start school before he was started school. Went back to school, found my husband before I went back to school, and then had my middle child, my second born, and he's my NICU baby. So I went back to school and I liked everything. Everything was fun. I liked all the classes. I was interested in everything. And then after my NICU baby, I knew that he was going to be in the NICU at the anatomy ultrasound, or the gender reveal ultrasound, as most people like to think of it, which is a 20-week ultrasound. We discovered that he had a hole in his diaphragm, and his organs were up in his lung space, which pushed on his heart, which pushed on his right lung. Everything's fine now. You wouldn't know it, but he did spend 5 weeks in the NICU, and he did come home on a feeding tube. So all that was kind of a lot. If you've ever had a NICU baby, or even if it was just a short period of time, long period of time, it can be a bit much. But like I was still in school, and him when he was born, I was like, okay, I am even more motivated than I was before to find the thing that fits, to find the thing that really will give me what I'm looking for. So I started reading the book "You're a Badass at Making Money" by Jen Sincero.
Mhm.
I really like that book. A lot of people have heard of it. She also has like "You're a Badass" book. She's like a whole badass series. It's great. But that book, she became a coach, and I went, oh, ooh, that checks all the boxes of all the things that I really like. I like talking to people. I don't want to work corporate. I kind of want to be flexible. I kind of want to work from home, and a bunch of other things. I was like that. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I actually decided, so it was 6 years ago in the summer. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go do a coaching certification. And I just leaped and I never looked back. Up until that point, I was still in school. And I was like, I'm gonna go do this. Well, my husband was my fiance at the time. I told myself, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go become a life coach. And I just started 6 years ago. So that's a lot of fun because at that time with my NICU baby, I was like, I was consuming personal and professional content, and I still do that. But that was like, I was super driven for all that. Um, and so I started my first business, got my first clients, joined my first certification, started networking and meeting people locally. I met somebody local named Darlene Hertz, who was telling me about this boot camp where they do NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And at the time I wasn't ready, and I ended up signing up for that a year after I had met her networking. while networking, while trying to grow my business, while doing my first certification, which my first certification was okay. It taught me how to do sessions, kind of how to structure sessions, not necessarily how to grow the business. But it was the first one. In the process of growing my business, meeting people, I realized I had these blocks that I wasn't able to get around, like money blocks and some other things, and doing affirmations only goes so far. Affirmations are like a drop in the bucket of the things you're trying to work on. They're not really getting to the deep cause, the subconscious, the computer programming underneath. And I say that because NLP, when I decided, okay, I'm going to do this program, I signed up for the boot camp, and then I decided to do the first certification class. So in 2019, I did the boot camp, and I spent 2020 doing these NLP certification classes. And my 2020 was fantastic. Maybe not everybody's, but mine was pretty great. Mine was very transformational, extremely transformational. To the point like where like the first certification, like I said, was just sessions. But people come to me with like these core problems. You ever notice in like they kind of bounce around and they don't always like break out of like this core problem. Um, it's like chipping away at the top of the iceberg. When I did NLP, neurolinguistic programming, we were able to get below the iceberg and get to the root cause and really blow out what the actual problem is, because we're able to tap into the neural pathways to the real problem.
Mhm.
So a couple things happened. Well, a few things happened when I was doing my NLP training. One, from boot camp to my first certification, my body went, "Oh, you are doing the work. Are you ready? You're going to be ready, and I'm going to make you work on this problem." And for me, my body went, "Ah," and I broke out in hives from head to toe, and I couldn't get rid of them. I mean, I had hives for like 18 years, no rhyme or reason. I was just diagnosed with, "We don't know why you're getting them. It's just an autoimmune disease." But when they came back, I could not get them to go away. Normally, I take Benadryl, they go away. But my body knew I was doing this work, and I couldn't get them away. I tried steroids, couldn't get them to go away. Took steroids, did my first certification. It was phenomenal, the results that I got from that. That was in January, because a lot happens in 2020, right? So by the time I went to the next certification class in July of 2020, I had taken steroids 2 or 3 more times to try to get the hives to go away, and they were not going away. And I finally went to my trainers. I'm like, "Can you help me? I cannot get these to go away. They're they're back with a vengeance." I'm like, "Yeah." Before the class that actually works on diseases and disorders, they looked up in their book, and anything related to loss of skin condition is related to loss of contact or not wanting to have contact. I'm like, okay. So what happens is 1 to 3 year prior to your symptoms, prior to you going to a doctor, is this like event happens. I was like, oh, I know what it was. I started getting my symptoms at 16. 3 years prior to when I was 16, there was this big fight that happened in my family, and I lost contact with my cousins and aunts and uncles and family and grandpa. And there was this big split down the middle. So and my cousins are like in my school. So there was this big conflict that happened, and it showed up in my body as hives. I lost all these people in my life. And in July of 2020, when I figured out the root cause, I was able to undo the negative impact from that event, and I haven't had hives since July of 2020 from that NLP certification, and able to undo that charge that was created a long time ago.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it sounded like you got into your work because there were some inspiring moments whenever when your son was younger. That's what I'm
Yes,
hearing, right?
my
And
first
then you
son and then my
decided,
second
okay, it's
son.
time. I'm gonna go for what I want. And then you talked a little bit about you went through the autoimmune disease that you had and how NLP helped with that and helped to actually get rid of it because you have to go to the root cause.
Right.
That root cause was from early. I don't think people realize that the root cause of many diseases come from, in prior years. It's an energetic component that's deep within that they may not recognize, that's unconscious to them. And
Well, so the body holds all the memories. It has the blueprint. And at the time we might not have the tools. So we just it gets internalized. I don't know how to deal with this right now. I don't have the tools to deal with it. And so then it just internalizes. And then what happens is it comes back later and says, "Hey, you ready to work on this thing?" No, I'm fine. I'm good. And so then it goes back in and it pops back up and goes, like the biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we're fine. And so until we have an opportunity, my body was not going to let me in 2020, it was not going to let it go away. It was like, no, you're going to work on this because you are ready to work on it. You have the tools now. You are in a place where that makes sense for you to work on it now. And if we don't work on it, that's how we end up, like with the bigger diseases, the heart attacks, the cancers, because if we don't deal with it, it's going to grow
Mhm.
into something that will force you to deal with it. And if you don't, then you might not be here for much longer, right? Not that hives is going to turn into something that's going to kill you, but like the conflicts, I didn't have the tools, so the body will find a way to help you work on it when that makes sense. And then we got to choose to do that.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't choose to do that.
Right. Right. So if we just listen to our body, it tells us many, many things. It's listening, listening. And you in prior years, whenever that had come up, it sounded like you sort of masked that with some of the different things that doctors would give you to make the
uh,
hives go away.
the only way I really treated it, so it was diagnosed as lupus because they didn't really nothing conclusive said this is what it is, because in Western medicine we're not taught to find the root cause, which is, I don't know, we'll just try to see what we can figure out, which isn't the actual source of the problem. So I
Oh,
just
we'll make
treated it
up a
with
name for
Benadryl.
it.
Yeah, well, it's just an autoimmune disease. We don't know why your body's attacking you. It's got a combination of symptoms, so we'll just put it in this sort of bubble box category. I don't know. You'll just have to deal with it for a long time,
Yeah.
right? And so you're right, but we do need to listen to the body because the body is talking to us, and but we're not always taught to listen, are we?
Mhm.
To what it's
Right.
telling
Yeah.
you.
And we were never taught that in as growing up, right, on how to listen to our bodies. I think most of us are recognizing that now. At least it's getting more visible to people that, hey, there's a
I think
lot more to us and our life, than what we were taught.
and they were connected. We didn't really have that idea that the brain and body had this huge connection. I think people are shifting towards that. Like, oh wait, there is more, and there's more books about being connected and listening to our body. I think that's becoming more of a thing. Um, so yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a shift in listening, and our bodies are talking to us every day. Every little thing that we do, if we stub our toe, hit our hand, that's your body's way of like working on the things that are in your life. Your body attempts to deal with those things, even minor things. Like my aunt called me one day and like created some drama, and like my knee hurt. I accidentally, something I do all the time. And somehow later that day, my knee started bothering me because I picked up the car seat wrong. And I was like, well, yeah, because every body part is related to some, like I have a book of like, oh, it's this body part, this disease, this is sort of the area that it's related to. And your brain knows what that is. And so I did the thing I did for myself before on that incident that happened a few months ago, and my knee stopped turning.
Mhm.
I needed to take a moment to like think about the situation and basically do like affirmations like I'm healthy, I'm strong, but like thinking about that prior to the event, like the events leading up to whatever, like right before my aunt called me, like and saying things like I'm good, I'm supported, and like those positive things that are special to me, important to me, that work for me until like there's no more negative charge attached. The beauty of this is when I work with my clients, I can't do everything myself. I can't, there's some events that needs to be done by somebody else. Is that if they do have these really strong, impactful moments, that we don't have to talk about it. We don't have to relive it. We don't have to re-experience the emotion. Like when you have a really charged event, talking about it brings all those emotions back up, right? But that we don't always want to do that, do we? It's not even healthy to even do that.
Mhm.
So being able to like remove those negative charges without talking about it is hugely impactful, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
is,
You don't wanna
uh,
you don't wanna relive the pain again.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
we can do that without having to re-experience it and remove that negative impact. And the beauty of it is they don't even have to remember, like they don't even have to have a conscious memory because your brain, the computer programming, has that date, that time, that moment for you. So you like, well, I don't know, something happened when I was like 2, but I'm not even sure, but I know something happened. Well, your brain remembers. And that's all that we need. And there's this specific way of getting that information out and undoing that negative impact. I've had people like where we did negative emotions where they were in the womb and then they said, "Hey mom, were you feeling this way around like, were you feeling really sad around like 8 months pregnant with me?" And they're like, "Yeah, how did you know?" Like, I don't, I did this session and that's just what I was feeling. And that's what came up. And I don't know how I got the answer, but that's what came up. And so that's a lot of fun to be able to, like, how would they know in the womb that their mom? It's not like they have a conscious memory, but your brain remembers that, right? And so it's a computer program that we can undo and disrupt so it's not having negative impacts. It's very freeing.
Yeah, so I do not do anything with NLP, so I just have some questions about that. I do a lot of energy healing, so
Yeah.
the same sort of work, but what would an NLP session look like? What would it can you describe um what exactly that is so our viewers understand?
Yes. So I love partnering with other practitioners who work in different ways because there's more than one way to work on a problem. So even if they've worked on it with other energy workers or I've worked on my stuff and I've worked with other energy workers on my stuff, it's all different ways of all different types of modalities to address a problem, right? And so I love being able to give referrals out to people in similar space, you know? So you've worked on things with people and then like, maybe it's gone, maybe it hasn't, maybe it's loosened it. Sometimes we have like a problem where we're like holding really tight to it and every little modality might like loosen it and like until the problem like just goes away. So sometimes it just goes away like the first time we work on it. Sometimes it needs a few different angles to attack a particular um thing depending on um deep of an inroad it is. So the way um that I work is it's I do we could do I don't do as in person as often, but I mostly do it online. And by asking very like specifically designed questions, we can get to, like I said, like the age or the time that it happened. And that's the key. And then being able to um it's kind of like meditation, but like a light trance, being able to walk them through the moment. And it doesn't take very long. It's very quickly. The biggest key is just really finding that moment and allowing your brain. The thing that people have to do is trust that process and let the process happen and
Mm,
not let your brain get in the way because the brain will like try to get
mm,
in the way and because it
yeah,
doesn't it's sabotaging, right? At times, sometimes it tries to
yeah,
block you thinking that it's protecting you when it's not, right? So
mm,
it'll try to do that.
absolutely.
So the person has to really, and I'll do that. I get people who've done multiple session with me. It's like, okay, we got to trust the process, let it go. You're okay. You're in a good space. You have to almost tell your brain that so that it'll let the process happen and let go of the thing that you're holding on to. Um, Even if it is something negative, sometimes we hold on to it because it serves a purpose. Sometimes it serves a purpose, even if it doesn't seem obvious at the time. It still serves a purpose. So sometimes you have to let that purpose go and figure out what that is. But it's just like I said earlier, it's okay, how old like if you had a car accident, it was very impactful. I'd ask you, okay, so when did this happen? Okay, you say you were 16, really bad car accident. Okay, and we would go prior to that car accident and I would have you look down on the event from above on your timeline. It's called timeline therapy, specifically is what I like to work with. Is going back in time is timeline therapy. And look down on that and then take away positive lessons from the event, positive things about prior to leading up to that event and looking down and what are some positive takeaways. And sometimes that could be hard for people like, well, this is just like really traumatic thing that happened. And, like I was too, like what's a positive lesson I can take away from this like really bad thing? But there's always positive lessons, like you're here, you're a survivor, you're supported, you're loved,
Mm,
or even like present tense words like you're successful, you are determined, things that's who your role isn't necessarily determined, but like instilling when we're doing this, saying those words allows the event and the charge to unravel.
mhm.
It's
Yeah,
really cool. It's a lot of fun.
I think that's true. And that's kind of the root of many spiritual practices is that everything's a gift. There's a gift in everything. And many times, whenever we look back at things that may have been impactful for us, we're able to identify what that gift was to us at that time. During the time, it's hard to figure it out. But when you look back, you're like, ah, that's why I shifted this way, or this is what I learned from it. So it sounds like that's what NLP is doing as well, which helps
Yeah,
unravel um,
it does. The
some.
sooner we can figure out, like you said, the gift or the lesson in the moment. Like even a few months ago when I hurt my knee just talking to my aunt, like the lesson in that moment, like before talking to her in the call and like what is a positive takeaway. You have to find the positive takeaways for all things. And, the sooner we can do that, the better. The sooner the thing releases,
Mhm,
whatever it is, even if it's just you hit your funny bone, right? There was
mhm,
something there was something that happened recently that caused you to hit your funny bone. It's your body's way of working on it. There's something that I really love to point out about um this is like, so take for instance, you do get in a car accident. So what happens when you get in a car accident? It's very, very, very stressful, right? All the hormones, it's very like your heart's racing and all the negative hormones are racing through your body, right? But what do you have to do? You have to tell the insurance. You have to tell their insurance. And maybe you have to tell a cop. And and then you tell your friend. And then you tell this person and this person, this person, this person, this person. And so what are you doing every time you talk about with all these different peoples after the fact? You're creating inroads. You are reliving that event with all the hormones and all the emotions, and that your body doesn't know the difference between that accident just happening and you just telling a bunch of people about it. You get the same thing happening in your body, and it starts to create, like these grooves in your body, these stress. So that goes with all negative events like that. When you're talking about it over and over, that stress keeps happening and happening, right? Which is why when we use the NLP, we're letting that go without talking about it, and we're not creating roots to that problem, inroads in your neurons on that problem. We get to release all of that negative charge without having to do that over and over again. Joe Dispenza has great stories similar to that about in his work. Are you a fan of his stuff?
I was mentored by Bob Proctor, which he
Oh
does
yeah.
similar stuff, but Joe Dispenza, yeah, I think he does great work as well.
Yeah, he has stories similar to that when you're like reliving that stress over and over. He's not anything related to NLP, but he talks about how when you're talking about that story and thinking about that story and how it constantly wears and tears on your body and
Mhm.
drains you. So he has great stories about that. But he has a different version of different ways that he deals with it too. But they're all, as long as we're working on the problem, right? Doesn't have to be one specific modality.
Yeah, I think the modalities at the heart of what everybody's doing, that we're really doing the same things, that we're letting go of the old story and creating a new story.
Right?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the more we talk about those things we don't want, or the more we hold on to that old story, it's just deeper in our subconscious mind. So it's really just cleaning out that all the subconscious and all the limited beliefs that we have.
Right?
There's a lot. there's a
There can
there's a
be.
lot of cleansing to do.
So when it's all like a perspective shift too. Like you said, taking the gifts, that's changing the whole perspective on the event and the story. And changing the whole perspective changes how your brain views it. And so then that's part of how it lets it go, is
Yeah.
seeing it in a completely different way.
Mhm.
Right. So our stories and how we even talk about it now versus what it used to be, like that whole, like when people are done having a session or like they almost go, well, like a limiting belief is different than like a hard event. Limiting belief is we made a decision and then we play that decision out in our programming. And people go, well, that seems silly now. Like now that I've done, like that almost seems, why was I holding on to that? I can't believe I even thought that. Or it's kind of funny how their brain just goes like, oh, well why was I holding on? Why was that, like that doesn't seem, this shouldn't have been a thing. And it totally was. And I love those moments.
Well,
Um,
and I think that's moments for all of us because we are all programmed by society to believe certain things, what we've learned. And then whenever we are working through the healing process is unraveling some of that, right?
right?
So as we learn more and as we get more curious and understand who we really are as beings, and then we look back at some of our old beliefs and we think, why did we ever believe that? You know, like some of the silly stuff that we believed in the past. And
Well,
I think it's a
oh
continuous
yeah.
upward spiral.
Yeah, it's peeling back that onion layer and there's
Mhm.
always another onion layer underneath.
Yeah.
Always, which is why I like I said, like I like partnering with other practitioners because there's more than one way to hit that onion layer and keep peeling it back. It's not like a done process,
Yeah.
right? You
Mhm.
just keep working on your stuff time and time again, and it's great. It's just how it's meant to be, right?
Right.
So let me tell you a few stories of a few people, um, after like a session or something. And these sessions don't necessarily take very long. What only takes very long is if they want to talk about the story for a long, like tell me a lot of details. That's the only time it really takes a long time. The actual undoing process isn't very long. It could be as short as 5 minutes. Um, but what I've had people come in like for examples I'll give you is like somebody they had a conflict with, and like this one person's one coach, she had a conflict with somebody within her organization and it was preventing her from growing her business. And what had happened is somebody had kind of it caused her to lose confidence because she stole clients from her. This other person in her organization kind of stole clients from her, and it was preventing her from growing. And then every time she had like this person, she's friends with this person on Facebook. She couldn't stand the sight of her, couldn't stand the sight of her voice. Just everything about this person was a negative charge. Like, so and so. After we were done, I said, pull up your phone, pull up that person, look at that person's picture, like, and then this person had a live video. She could listen she had no problem listening to the video. Before it would be cringy. Think about that, like a cringy, like you don't want to hear it, you don't want to see it. And there was nothing anymore. No negative charge related to this person, which was really good because they had to go see this person soon because they had some, like they had some event that they had to go to, and this person was in their organization, couldn't do anything about it, and it was fine, and she didn't have to worry about it anymore. I had another guy who like had something similar to like an alligator or maybe whatever, alligator crocodile, one of those animals. And they went to a show and there was something that happened with an alligator and his girlfriend that he felt super embarrassed. And if he would see an alligator on his phone, he would get charged and like quickly scroll through this phone. Like if it was on Instagram, scroll through it because it would have this charge attached to it. And so as soon as we were done, nothing, no charge. Before it was very embarrassing, very, like you get those emotions that come up for something that reminds you of something that you don't want to think about,
Mhm.
gone. It's completely gone. And it's like, wow, like how did you do that? It's gone. Like and before you could remember that you had the feelings before, but you can't even tap into them anymore. You
Mhm.
can't even access those negative emotions attached to those events. And I love being able to do that. Those are just a few of incidences within LP. There's so many really cool things that I love about it. I'm very passionate about because there's so many fun things. One of the other things that I absolutely love, it's a lot of fun. Not everyone wants to do it, is I can take a food that you like a favorite candy, and turn it into a food you don't like.
Oh, that would be good for a lot of people.
Right? You have
Yeah.
to be willing to give it up though.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was in the prior training class to mine, and he didn't believe it would work. And he volunteered to do this particular exercise, this training. This training luckily is local. I love the training that I'm so happy because it's not always local. Anyways, he volunteered to be the student that she was gonna show everybody how to do it on. And whenever I bring it up, ironically, he can't stand it. He hates it that he thought it was a joke, and he got rid of Reese's, and it was his go-to comfort candy, and she got rid of it, and he's like, I can't eat anymore. And I just, oh my God, I thought it was a joke. I didn't actually think it would work. So they have to be really willing to give up like soda or potato chips. And one person I was like, she's like Texas Roadhouse rolls. And I was like, okay, cool. And we turned them into like sardines or something. And she went after we were done, she's like, oh, I think we got rid of Texas Roadhouse. My husband's gonna kill me because he loves going to Texas Roadhouse. That's not what he said, but he's gonna be upset. Like, oh my God, my husband's gonna be upset because we really like going to Texas Roadhouse, but I eat too many of the rolls. I think she's
Mhm.
still able to go back. It just allows for choice, but it's still kind of funny story. I really like that story about that.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
Do you have any foods that you want
Any foods? Well, you know what? I am all switched my diet completely
right?
over to like vegetables and fruits.
Right?
So that was a choice I made about 3 years ago.
A lot of holistic practitioners have changed their diet. So
Yeah.
you're like,
Well,
oh,
it's so
that's
much
really cool.
easier. It's so simple.
But you don't even have a food anymore, right? So some people don't, or they don't even want to give up that favorite food or that soda. But I do enjoy doing that. I'd use that same modality to if somebody goes, I really like shopping a lot. Is there any way we can like make shopping not fun? I said, sure. Let's do the same modality for shopping. And we did that for shopping. And she's like, okay, cool. I don't really like savings. Can now we make it so that I like savings? I said, yeah, we made savings as she goes, what I really love. I said, but you have to find something that you really like to do. You don't like savings. Now, I won't do this with a food. I can't take a food you don't like and turn it into a food you like. Not allowed to do that.
Mm.
But I did say she doesn't like savings. I'm like, well, what is something you do enjoy that's like similar? And she goes, well, I really love learning and like, reading and learning stuff. I said, okay, we'll make savings as fun as learning. And so we did that. And I think I don't remember what we made shopping less fun. We just didn't make it go, what do you not like to do? I might have been saving, but like we just took away the fun, happy feelings of shopping and to the point that it was a problem, like, oh, yay, you get that little like boost of yay for shopping. So we were able to like kind of sort of neutralize that. Um, but I haven't talked to her in a while about that. So I don't know how that's going, but that's one of the examples of fun things I can do.
Yeah, that does sound fun. There was one thing on here that you specialize in healing generational trauma. Can you go into that a little bit? The generational trauma.
So I've had, like I said, the story with the autoimmune disease. So I have had more than one autoimmune disease, and I can now trace it back to that drama that has happened. That like my family, we sometimes when things are going well, will create something out of nothing. They'll create mountains out of molehills, and over the years. So I really helping you to heal those conflicts that have been passed down on you and like even limiting beliefs. My mom had this story that she like had terrible handwriting. And I never thought she had terrible handwriting, but she had this story that she thought she had really bad handwriting. And then I adopted the story, which is how I created a limiting belief. And then my oldest ended up, not my middle child, and my youngest is 18 months and she writes usually while I'm having a Zoom meeting. But he ends up having like a lot of limiting beliefs around his ability to write. So we do get past these down. And then the generational like just creating these conflicts and within my family, like things that have gone on. So it's a direct passion of mine, like of dealing with it and directly like how I've worked on it. So helping other people work on some of that stuff that we don't even realize. And when we work on the stuff on ourselves, it goes in both ways. It will energetically help the generation before us, and it's going to work on the generation after us. And we don't have to work with them. So I know that other people have had, I guess you could say, crazy families, or like, why are they doing this? There's no reason for this, like they know I'm working on my stuff and they've gotten better over the years, but there's still some of that. So helping other people heal those relational conflicts and those who are like ready to heal those relationship conflicts. Yes, those are people I want to help. They're pretty kind of obvious, the things, like major events that have happened with people,
Hmm.
and all you have to do is get to the first one, but time and time again, stuff will happen. And there's no, so I know there's other people who are like, yes,
The
right?
generational trauma. Have you noticed that whenever you help someone, is there any stories that you have where it's helped, someone in their generational line that they're either their offspring or maybe someone their parents? Like,
So the interesting thing is, so when I work with clients and they tell me that things are going better, for one, when the brain starts to heal, we don't even always remember everything. Two, like they'll tell me things are going better, but then I talk to like their spouse or something, and it's completely different when they're saying things are going better than somebody who's an outside observer goes, "Oh, you're working with my wife. Oh my God, I've noticed such a difference. You're the one." and she's been doing so much better. So hearing that story of them going, wow, thank you. I don't know if I've had, like, I work with somebody who needed to work on an issue because she can also see it in her son. I don't know that she's ever come back to me and said, oh, he's doing better per
Mhm.
se, like that. But having like my own stuff at my own house and like with my son and working, whenever I am working on my stuff, my oldest is doing better. He's kind of a mini me. He's my mirror. He's my biggest why, my biggest like I need to work on my stuff.
Mhm.
He's part of that story. So I know when I'm doing better, he starts to do better really well too. He still has his own journey. He still has things he's working on, but I know for a fact that my stuff also affects him. So I don't have any like concrete evidence to say, yes, they've come back to me with stories,
Yeah.
but I know that it is working both ways. Like like the story I said with the in the womb when they talk to their parent about that emotion.
Mhm.
So it is energetically affecting us. When I did my certification class, I also did like past generation on the emotion of guilt. I did a past generation event, and the my person that I was working, my fellow student goes, I don't know what you did, but I just felt that and that felt powerful and I got goosebumps. So it does work, even past lives and all that.
Mhm.
I don't know how to prove it to you. I don't have any stories of somebody going, oh yeah, my so and so in both directions is you may not even know that it's working. Like they might be doing better, but there's no way to like show that.
Right.
Um, but there will be, I'm sure there's an energy shift that you
Yeah.
can't really tap into, but I'm sure it's there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it happens. I think sometimes it's whenever a person changes themselves, then they see their outer world change. So I'm
Yes.
just trying to my brain wants to know what exactly is happening.
Right.
So,
Right. We
yeah.
can't really pinpoint like generationally. But I'm like, oh, I know that it's going in both directions. I know that
Mhm.
it's healing. Even you can't really see it, it's still working.
Yeah.
Right.
So are your clients able to feel after your sessions that do they give you information? And I think they probably do, but I'm going to ask you this
Depends on
question. Like
the type of client.
they can feel like a release or they feel
So I
light.
had one of my clients was very kinesthetic. Now we attract people who are similar to us. And so I'm a little less touchy-feely. My husband's a little more kinesthetic than me. Kinesthetic people move through the process really fast. In NLP, we have these four archetypes. One of them is audio digital, kinesthetic, um, and then I think one is like sound. But these are like there's like these main archetypes. So a visual person, a very feely person, somebody who's more logical, and somebody who's very very auditory people. And so I'm the more logical. I'm a very more logical brain. I've gotten a little more kinesthetic over the years. And I say that to say that when I attract more logical brain people, they process a little slower and they process differently, but they don't talk about the emotions out loud as much. Now, a kinesthetic person, and they make really good students because they're more obvious. So when they're very kinesthetic, they notice the energetic movement of the emotions, they feel them faster, they're more in touch with them, right? So I had one person when we'd work together, she was very kinesthetic. She'd go, oh, my shoulder's starting to hurt, or this part of my body was starting to hurt. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of the process. And then as soon as we knew that it was over, that part of her body that would go away,
Mhm.
right? But the
Yeah.
more logical people aren't going to talk about the process as much. They're not going to talk about the feelings as much. And the process, like, it might be a little slower, but it definitely is there. It's definitely working, but they might not say as much, right?
Yeah, I think logic gets in our way sometimes.
Yeah,
The mind gets in the way sometimes of really being able to fill into who we really are. And
right.
we're like, if you're logical and you're doing something new, like the NLP or any other thing else, your logical brain's going, I don't know if this works. You know what I mean? So you have this back and forth in your brain because you're trying to
Yes.
approach everything logically. And then that doesn't allow you to feel within yourself of what you're actually feeling. Cause you got to gotta just let go of your
Mm-hmm.
mind and trust the
Mm-hmm.
process so
Mm-hmm.
you can feel what's happening, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what you have to do. And knowing that about yourself, you have to tell yourself it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a process because I come from a engineering background into the spiritual world. So it's like you have to continue to work on it and work on it until one
You
day
know
it's
what
just
that
like,
means
"Oh,
with
I
that
got it. I
logical
got it.
part,
Okay."
right?
What's that?
So you got that logical, less kinesthetic part for having an engineer background. You're probably trying to logically break it all down, but you have to tell yourself to stop because you'll get in your way.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how you develop your all of your all of your clairs, like what you were talking about, your sight, your hearing, your
Right.
feeling, your
Your
knowing
programming.
is your programming is as soon as you can let go of all the logical things we've learned. Because what we've learned is not always true.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is
How
fun.
we see the world. The world happens, we make decisions, and then we find ways to support that belief,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
That's the thing. That's what limiting beliefs are, is like, so our imprint years are 0 to 7, which is our main programming years, our main malleability. Not that we're still malleable after that. It's just our primary malleability time of our brain, the most flexible time, but it keeps processing. Um, so then like things will happen in our life and we just decide and make a, without realizing, like a declarative, like this is just how the world is. And then we go out and find ways that keep proving that. And so then when we start doing healing work, then we shift all that and then we find ways to support our new beliefs. And we have to find ways to support our new beliefs, right? It's kind of like when somebody says, oh, there's no good women out there, or there's no good men out there. If you believe that, you're going to find things that are going to support that, right? If you're in the dating world, if you're in the dating world and you think that there's no good men, or you're not going to find the kind of woman or man you're at because they don't, oh, they're not great people, or she only wants me for my money. Your idea and beliefs is going to support that. But obviously that's not true, because there's plenty of good women and men out there that are exactly, more, or not the negative belief that you think that they all are, right? So it's just how we see everything. My books just fell on my desk. That
What
was a
was
little
that?
distracting. I had some
What
books that just fell on my desk.
Oh, I
Sorry.
see. I
I
see.
don't know if you heard it, but I saw it and I was like, oh, I don't. Anyways, that was a little distracting.
I didn't hear it, no.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think that we're on the time where we can manifest anything if we can just relax and allow and, shift our world however we wanna see it.
So did you have a moment where you had to say, okay, let it go. I'm here for a reason. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm doing my stuff. I'm working on my stuff. Brain, let me do that.
Oh, yeah, many times.
Right?
That's happened, yeah, I think as you lift and basically what we're doing is lifting in consciousness, right? So then we have uh this new set of beliefs that we have that are much more powerful. And then you gotta go through the process again, and you can keep going as
Hmm.
much as you want over and over and over. And that's when
Yeah.
it gets magical and mystical is because, we are really so much more powerful than what people realize.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And as we process through journey and discover more and more things, isn't it so much fun?
It is, it is a lot of fun.
I feel like that even from like a few months ago, um, where I was at. And I even feel like even now I'm like, oh, like things are just so much better than they were even like a few months ago. And I mean, let alone your 18-year-old self and your grown self. And
Right. But the last 2 months have been rapid up levels. Yeah, it's been
yeah.
huge. It's been phenomenal. And I think we get that once we start, we get into this healing work, like what we're in, we start seeing that even more rapidly because we're we're able to expand our mind a little bit more and allow things in.
So how that's true, and like you said that like there's a shifting of people, how there's a shifting like all around the conscious of people. That's why I believe like generationally it is being felt both ways, even though there's no way to show that.
Mhm,
Same way as like everybody else is starting to feel a shift, even if they don't know it,
mhm.
right? That's why I don't know. I personally, when 2020 hit, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. We are now, for the first time ever, have a universal experience where everybody in the entire world is experiencing this one event. Things happening in the news, things happening in the world might happen in another part of the world. Doesn't really affect my part of the world. COVID's the only thing that's literally has affected every aspect of the globe, right? Every single person had to do basically the same thing. We all had to run away and hide, right? For a little bit, for the most part, unless you're in certain parts of town. But like we all we all were supposed to be wearing masks. Not that everybody did, but like the entire world was doing something for COVID. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is great because now everybody experiencing the same thing. That means that we can also share other things together because we all experience this thing together, a
Mhm.
universal thing.
And I think that's a perfect example of there were many gifts from that time, right?
Yes.
There's many people that had to be at home more often, and that made them go within to really think about what do I really, really want with my life? Because
Yeah.
before they were just running around crazy to going to this, going to that, going to work, picking up the
Yep.
kids, you know what I mean? And didn't even
Yes.
stop to think about what do I want for my life? So I think that was really
Yep.
healing. It put a different perspective for people to think about, and you see a lot of good coming out from
And
that.
you weren't alone. It's not like you lost a job and you're at home with these thoughts. It's like, no, all your neighbors, all your friends, all your family, and the entire globe, they're all feeling the same way because they're all at home right now,
Right,
right?
right,
Or
right.
whatever job they were, whatever global experience, everybody around you was feeling the exact same way. So you couldn't feel alone. Even if you did feel alone, even if you were home alone, you knew that your neighbor was also home alone or whatever.
Yeah. And
We
then
were
you
all
get
doing the same thing.
yeah, and then everybody had certain choices they could make on how they felt about things. Do you wanna wear a
Yeah.
mask? Do you not wanna wear
Yeah.
a
So talk
mask? Do you
about
wanna do
pattern
this? Do you not
interrupt,
wanna do that,
reset,
right?
universal experience. I thought it was great. A lot of people started businesses, a lot of people quit stuff, started stuff. Some people use it as an opportunity, like, but then like you have the opposite effect where people use it as an opportunity to get to do and change for the positive. Some people
Mhm,
did experience negative impacts. So remember how I said like conflicts, something happens and we don't have the tools at the time. So it takes 1 to 3 years of accumulation in the body. So 1 to 3 years after COVID, there were people getting sick from getting COVID. They're still having lasting impacts, and all this is also still related to um, not having the tools to deal with it at the time, or not knowing what to do about it at the time. There's a lot of people who were very scared at the time, and
mhm,
that's left an impact. That's left a health impact. And if they got vaccinated, if they didn't get vaccinated, if they got sick, they didn't get. There's still been so people are actually experiencing diseases too. So that could be another reason why they're shifting to figure out about the body and
yeah.
what to do about it and about the medical world and the health and the
Mhm. So many things,
so many things.
so many things shifting. Yeah. Be interesting to see how it all settles out in the end. But I see a lot of good. I see a lot of good from it.
Can you believe it was only 4 years ago?
Oh, it seems like longer.
I know it's so great that it was in 2020, so it's easy to remember how many years because that was a that was an even number. That was a 10 number. It was an even number.
Mhm, mhm.
Right? So we'll always know
Right.
how far back that was.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
Oh yes. Okay. So I have my own. I've been talking about my healing coaching business. I love working with people and I have programs if anybody wants to reach out or just to chat. But I also have my own local networking group with local business owners that I founded a couple years ago. And right now, my brain's been full with this event that we coming up. My brain is very busy with this children business fair. It's a children's business fair. I'm going to do it annually every year in September. Right now, it'll be September 15th. The time you hear this, that'll have come and gone. But we will be doing it again next year around the same time, the same weekend. Uh, and it's an opportunity for the kids to be the little entrepreneurs and have their products and services and for people to come and shop. What I really like finding families has always been good. It's easy to find families. My ask is also like people visit and support these kids. Not only if they want to sign up, some people love signing up. This is really great, but also like visiting the kids and shopping for the kids and meeting them. That's also huge. And finding sponsors for it is so it's a lot of fun creating this. It's very important to me to help these youth in a way that's outside the normal, like thinking about 9 to 5, which they're all doing anyway. They're kind of shifting away, thinking about things other than 9 to 5. If they watch YouTube, they're like, oh, I could be a YouTuber and make money off YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. My oldest is 12 and and my 6-year-old is too, but our 6-year-old also thinks he can do that. But just like reaching them that there's other ways like to network and business networking. And I want them to know like that exists and like to be connected to people. And you never know, who's gonna like there's kids who've created companies when they're like, they're so young and like they created like a big business and they're just little kids, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what this is an opportunity for that too, for them to.
I love that opportunity. It makes them think bigger. Like you can do anything, think bigger, right? Getting them started at a young age. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I want them to come. So my networking group is also kid friendly. We occasionally have kids come because I want them to experience connecting with other business owners and standing up and talking
Mhm,
about their business. And so my 12-year-old, who's my mini me, also part of my why, he loves to like stand up and like help me host the meeting,
mhm.
which is kind of funny. And I'm like, oh, hold on, wait till it's that part. Um, I call my middle child my graphic designer, and I call my youngest my unpaid intern. If she wasn't sleeping and I wasn't on this call, but like a different Zoom that was a casual Zoom, she'd be like taking notes during the Zoom. And like my desk has got writing all over. I got a notepad for her to write on. It's really
Oh,
a lot of fun for them to grow up and have this opportunity. I plan on making this children's business fair bigger and bigger every year
very
to
nice.
support them. And they're going to grow up and also be business owners. And it's good for them to connect to each other. So I'm looking forward to it every year.
Mhm, very good. And Amber, if anybody wants to contact you for your NLP and your transformational coaching, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So the best way is I am on Facebook at Amber Webb and Amber Webb Maxfield. And my website is Amber Webb with two B's. So AMBERWEBB.com. Someone wants to do like a 20-minute like chat discovery call. If they're a local business, they just want to connect as a local business owner, then like I have an hour like Zoom coffee. If they're wanting to have like more of a coaching, like see that would be a good fit. I do have like a 20-minute discovery strategy session, and we will do something helpful in that moment. I have lots of really fun, cool to helpful like brain tricks that are a lot of fun. Um, if you're interested, we can do one too. I can do one for you. Like my favorite one is like motivational one. It's very powerful. It's a lot of fun, but your brain goes, "What did just happen?"
All right. Well, very good. Well, thank you for joining today. Thank you for your time. And is there anything else? Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it. I think that's pretty good.
Okay. All
But
right.
this has
Thank
been a
you
lot of
very much.
fun.
Yes,
You're a lot of
absolutely.
fun.
All right.